Welcome back to Access Anime. I'm Henshin Ikeda, and today I'm going to be doing a walkthrough and review of Blast of Tempest Episode 2. Now I'm just going to dive right in, so here we go. I'm going to keep my comments and my rating until the end of the clip, so stay tuned. So we open up this episode with Ikia, Yoshino, and Yoshino's best friend, Muharo, and I remember last episode they were about to fight or take on that monster that came out of the water that looked like an eyeball with chains. Yeah, we don't really get to see that right away. In fact, that doesn't even happen at all in this episode of them battling it out. So, kind of a letdown there. So that in itself made me lose a full point's worth out of watching this episode. But I digress. Let me go on. We see Akio, Musaharu, and Yoshino talking at the beginning of the episode, and Ikia is talking about kissing for the first time, and she asks her brother about it. Kind of awkward. And it's also confirmed that Ikia is dating Yoshino. It's just her brother, Muhara, doesn't know. That's why she's always making fun of Yoshino, to basically throw off her brother off their trail that they're dating. And she's texting him about kissing him next time, and that's why the last episode I was confused because, you know, Akia's dead. It's been 10 months. And why is he checking his cell phone? This is why he's checking his cell phone. The last messages she sends him before she dies were, "We're gonna kiss next time," and so on and so forth. So that's kind of a little more closure than I wanted to know about Muhara's sister Ikia. Now, moving on, we see the boulder and the chains in the air yet again, but that was about it. That's where we left off last episode. And this episode, we get to see the boulder in the air again with the chains. Now, here's what we do know. Every single time we see butterflies and caterpillars and whatnot in the series, this is where those boulders pop out of nowhere. So that's just a little FYI. If you see butterflies in an episode, you know a monster's coming. Now, Muhara tells Shino, don't worry, he'll save the world. Now, he made a pact with, I call her, she looks like Nami, but she's called Hakaze, and she's an actual princess of the, I hope I get this right, it's a K clan. It starts with a K, that's all I know. And I'm seriously not going to pronounce that name of that clan. But anyway, she is a princess of that clan. And again, we show like, I think 3 or 4 minutes worth of Muhara talking to Yoshino, filling him in about every single thing he's been into, the time gap. So now we're caught up to date on why Muhara is doing everything. He is going after the killer of his sister. That's a given. And in order to do this, he takes help from this mage who is trapped on an island. And apparently her clan, they had a power struggle, and she was like the head leader of this clan, and she got the boot because apparently no one liked to follow her to that extent. They had their own ideals. So the only way she can get her magical powers and to save the world out there is by going through Muharo. So they make a pact. So now we're up to date on the whole little thing they have, which is kind of interesting. And Yoshino is just taking all this in. It's just weird. He's like, okay, one more time? Yeah, can we go back and just like do this one more time? I'm sorry, I just find it funny. Now, the clan again is called Kusarabi. Again, I said I don't know how to pronounce it. But we don't know who Simon, this guy that put Hokage, the mage, on this island. We just know they have the same last name and they belong to the same clan. So again, I have no idea if they're related and if they're brother and sister or whatnot. Just same last name, they're in the same clan. He seems to be the guy that's in charge of the clan now. So he's your protagonist. Like I said in the last episode, he's your protagonist. Let's see, anything else I can remember? The Black Iron Syndrome. As soon as a monster appears from the Kusarabi clan, apparently they're the ones that are summoning these monsters to summon something else, because they need all the parts of these monsters to form into one monster, I guess. You'll see butterflies. That was an obvious fact. You'll see butterflies because the butterflies are attracted to these monsters. The Black Syndrome, I believe I pronounced this right. It's called the Black Iron Syndrome. That'll appear no matter where these monsters are as soon as they pop up. Right now, you get about 12 to 20 people that fall with that syndrome and they automatically die, I guess. They turn to metal. So that's kind of interesting. So you see a metal person, the Black Iron Syndrome, the government quarantines the area off, and you know monsters appeared. Now, let me draw back a little to Hakaze. Hoke's Kusarabi, she claims to be the strongest mage of all time, so someone has a little ego issue here. The strongest mage of all time. Is there something in this series that says you're the best out of everyone else? How can one person be the strongest mage ever, and yet you just got exiled from your own clan? So you claim to be the strongest magical person on this planet, but your own clan kicks you out. If they're able to kick you out, then you're not the strongest mage, okay? Just FYI, don't ever say that. It's like, I self-proclaim I'm the strongest mage ever. Come on, there's no statistics that says you're the strongest mage. You just self-proclaimed yourself. Someone's on an ego trip. Just putting it out there. I hate when women say that in a series. I'm the strongest, so blah blah blah. I'm like, no, you're not. Someone else walks around and beats the crap out of you. You get exiled from a group. That obviously means you're not the strongest. But we find out there was a power struggle within her clan, and Simon was the leader of this power struggle, so this is why she's no longer head of that clan. Now, let's see. We actually are taken back to Muahara's house. I'm sorry, I have a hard pronunciation of his name, but I'll call him Yoshino's best friend. Yoshino's best friend wants to go after his sister's killer, so he made a pact with Hoke's, which is that mage on the island, they made that pact. Now we're taken to the house of Yoshino's best friend, and Yoshino's best friend wants to retrace everything and use Hoke's magic to find out who the killer is. So they go into the residency and we get to see these talismans. This is how Hoke's, who is the mage on this island, is able to use her power outside of this invisible island that Simon set up. So she puts, I guess, no one in her clan knows, she put thousands of these like talismans, these little silver knives and little artifacts across this continent, I guess, and Muahara ends up finding them. I guess she sends him out to find them. And apparently, if you have these talismans and they're touching your skin, they grant you a small amount of power. But there's a catch. You can only use these talismans for so many times before they break. And apparently, Muahara gives Yoshino a couple of them to protect himself, because he has confidence that Yoshino might need them, and he's a good friend. But he ends up pushing Yoshino away and says, you better get out of here before, the government closes off this area and quarantines you. So he ends up going. And we see Muahara putting a knife down into the ground and all these little veins coming out of the knife. And this is where the magic starts, where Hoke's is trying to find who the killer of Muahara's sister is. And that's where we're generally left in the house. Hoke's, I guess, finds some... We don't get to know who the killer is, so that's probably going to be the next episode. But apparently she has an idea. There's a clue that's out there. But now we're going back to Yoshino. He's gone. He went to his house. He tried calling his mom, but no signal. We don't know anything about his dad. He grabs a couple groceries or some stuff, and he ends up going. Walks outside. We see a lot of dead, the Black Iron Syndrome stuff. So now, funny thing, Mrs. Yamamoto, we see a quick flash, so she's following him. And again, she's very attractive. I mean, she's wearing a skirt and she's got a gun, so this is kind of funny. She's stalking him. And now, do you remember those bullies that beat the crap out of Yoshino in the last episode? Yeah, they're dead. They got what's coming to them. Now, this is funny. Yoshino finds his wallet, picks it up, puts it in his pocket, says, yeah, guess you guys aren't going to need it anymore. And Mrs. Yamamoto was like, what are you doing? What are you stealing that for? That's not yours. I was like, what are you talking about? That's his wallet. It's got his ID and everything in it. Let's see, we know the truth. She don't know jack. But this is where it gets a little interesting. She pulls a gun out on Yoshino. And I was like, really? She's got a bandage on her nose from getting her butt kicked by Yoshino's best friend. She pulls her gun. She's really got it out for him. And Yoshino pushes, uses his magic, pushes her into the building, and then they're teleported elsewhere. So Yoshino now can use magic, at least temporarily, because those talismans have a limit. Anyways, she goes flying, and now I don't know where they're at, but you see Yoshino dashing for, looks like his school. So he's hiding out in the school. Now again, we're taken back to Muahara, and they now know, I guess, who the killer is of his sister or have an idea, but we don't know. There was just that small little cutscene of where now we know Muaharo and Hokkai's have an idea of who the killer is. But I digress. We're going back to the school, and we see Mrs. Yamamoto versus I already forget his name, Yoshino. And Yoshino, he sees, I guess, a girl he knows that's has the black iron syndrome, and I guess he's trying to remember her name. But I'm gonna move a little past that, because you see Miss Yamamoto. She's walking in, and you know, Yoshino now has her handgun because he was able to take it from her. So he's got a gun, so he's one up on her. I was like, where does this woman get her guns? She pulls out a machine gun and starts shooting randomly, and Yoshino like puts his phone up to take a picture, and he's like, well, at least the kid's smart. But she's got a machine gun and she's just shooting randomly. I'm like, God, this girl's got a lot of moxie. And it's not done yet. No, we are so not done. It gets even more interesting. She puts on a gas mask and she puts some type of gas in the building. We don't know if it's sleeping gas, nerve gas, smoke screen. We don't know what it is. It's just, it might be tear gas. That's my best thing I can think of, tear gas. So we see Yoshino running all the way up to the top to get air, and she's like, Mrs. Yamamoto's walking through the building. Like, I wonder where Yoshino is. I wonder where Yoshino is. Anyways, obviously they're on top of the building. Now I'm just going to focus on Yamamoto versus Yoshino. I'm not going to pay attention to Muaharo right now. I'll save that little scene until the end. So this is a little out of sequence. And they're up top on the building, and she's got like a gun aimed right at him, the machine gun, and he's got, you see Yoshino shoot a bullet right across from her. And this is interesting. Yoshino, he's never really fired a gun, at least to my knowledge, in this series. He shoots her, like shoots something right past her, and he's calm, he knows how to fire, and she's like, damn, this kid's serious. He's not scared, he knows exactly what he's doing. And before you know it, this kid just bolts at her. Yoshino is all over her, and before you know it, she is flying off the building scared as hell. Mrs. Yamamoto is falling down. She is scared. I'm like, she thinks she's gonna die. She's like, oh my god, I can't believe this kid did. And all of a sudden, he's using his magic. I guess he's testing his limits of his magic, and Yoshino just pauses just before they're about to die. Like, they fall off the story of the building all the way down, and they pause. And I'm like, just kill her. Just kill her now. She's like, I know she's pretty, she's nice. Kill her. But he doesn't, and apparently she's stunned. She doesn't know what the heck's going on and what else have you. Now we find out later on, Yoshino's like, he talks to her, like, listen, we need to stop. I want to make a deal. Now, we do not know what this deal is. We have no idea what type of pact, what type of deal they made. Just that now Mrs. Yamamoto is no longer going after Yoshino, is no longer going after Muaharo or Hokkai's, but we do know Mrs. Yamamoto, she knows something about Hokkai's. Apparently she knows about the link or something between Muaharo and Hokkai's, the mage that's on the island, but we don't know how. There's no closure, we don't know jack. We're still left in the dark here, and that's pissing me off. But I digress. Moving a little, let's move past that. So they're walking down the street and they're doing a small little chit-chat on how, I guess, Yoshino knows Muaharo, and he talks about this girlfriend in past tense, and Mrs. Yamamoto picks up on this, and she's like, wait, you dated Muaharo's sister. At first, I guess Yoshino tries to push it off, like, no, it's another girl. Mrs. Yamamoto, she's smart and she's attractive. She puts two and two together, and she feels bad, really bad for Yoshino, so she knows where he's coming from. And you see Yoshino, he really doesn't want to talk about this, but he self-explains to Mrs. Yamamoto, Muaharo, my best friend, he'd go to the ends of this earth. He'd do good things, he'd do bad things, just to make sure that the killer of his sister is caught, is brought to justice, or killed and put down. But you know what? I'm not like him. I'm not going to do that. This is a screwed up world right now. We're in this little joint, this mixed up magical world, and maybe I can find my own way of doing stuff that's different from his. So it's nice that he's level-headed. Now, while all this was going on, we've got Muaharo and Hokkai's talking, and they're about to go after, I guess, the killer, and then this guy appears out of nowhere. I mean, literally, he appears out of nowhere. And he's got a spear, and he's using magic, and he talks to Muharu. He's like, "Kid, what are you doing here? Don't you know this place is about to be quarantined?" And he's talking to Hokage on his little doll, and Muharu's like, I guess he started describing who this guy was to Hokage, and Hokage automatically knows who it is. Apparently, this guy works underneath Simon. So Simon's the one that put Hokage on this island. So this is interesting. But this guy, we don't know really who he is until Hokage says that's Nasumara Kasarabi. So he's also from the clan, and he is tough. This guy is all over the place. He can also use magic, but he was stunned to know Muharu could use magic and reports this to Simon, or Simon, however you pronounce his name. So now Simon knows that Hokage is talking to this kid, is able to leak out her power to him, and Simon tells Natsumara, "I don't want you to kill this kid. I want you to capture him and bring him in." So that's where we're left in this episode. Apparently, Natsumaru versus Muharu, and you see Muharu falling from the sky because he uses his magic to, well, the talismans he has on his wrist, to appear in the sky and attack dead on. So we don't know who's winning. We just know it's a setup for a fight. Final thoughts for Blast of Tempest Episode 2. I would actually like to know what Yoshino and Mrs. Yamamoto made a deal about. We are left in the dark on that. Also, I'd like to know the outcome of the fight versus Natsumari versus Muharu. That I'm kind of interested in because they both look like they're hot-headed fighters. So I'm interested to know that. Also, maybe a little more closure on the Kasarabi clan. I always pronounce that clan wrong, but I want to know more about this clan. I mean, they said there was a power struggle, but every single power struggle within a clan, there are always some people that are separatists and some people that aren't separatists. So I want to know, is everyone on this clan side, or are there some people that are still following Hokage, the mage that's on the island? You know, I'm sure she's got to have some supporters. I also want to see more of her talismans. She has all these talismans on, I guess, on this continent, and I want to see if there's more of them. Like, there's got to be more. I mean, we saw a table full of them, these silver talismans, so I'm interested to see more about that. But that ends it for my walkthrough and review of Blast of Tempest Episode 2, and again, I give this a rating of 3.5 out of 5. I was being generous only because I did not see any battle scenes that were worth watching other than the last one, which was Natsumaru versus Muharu. That was about it. Although we see Yoshino battling Mrs. Yamamoto, that was worth watching, but it wasn't enough to quench my thirst. But again, 3.5 out of 5, and I'm done with my ending thoughts. That ends it for this review and walkthrough of Blast of Tempest Episode 2. So again, comment down below, thumbs up, thumbs down, subscribe above, and check me out on Twitter. But that ends it for today, and I have to say it, you can't stop the access, but you can watch the feed. I'll see you later, guys.